Live man. Live man. Ow.
Oh, sorry. I'm kicking my guest, guys. I apologize. We're going to check and see if we are live. And we're going to try and mute this before we get feedback. There we go. And then we will do that. All right. Wait, wrong way. Forgive us, guys. We're working out. There we go.
There we go.
All right, so everybody that is at home watching, we got 13 people already. Thank you for coming out. We are at Kirkland's in Big Stone Gap. Man, you guys need to make sure you come out one of these days and hang out with us. We do some live giveaways. So after the live stream, we will do giveaways. We already jumped up to 30 people. That is awesome. Hello, everybody. By the way, let me know that you can hear me, by the way, pretty please. We've got the Tennessee State champion, kayak champion here, Mr. Josh King with me, a good friend of mine, and somebody who I'm super proud of because I know me and Josh talk on a regular basis, and somebody who I know really has worked extremely, extremely hard over the past few years to put himself in a position to win the state championship in kayak fishing. And he done it on Kentucky Lake, like a bucket list lake of mine, a lake that I've always wanted to go fishing. And he went out there and dominated. How many anglers was it?
We had 86, I believe, if I remember correctly.
86 kayak anglers. And that's a big lake. And I'm telling you, I know Josh had a little bit of wind.
Yep.
And that lake can get brutal when the wind is blowing in the right direction. And we're going to talk about that as we go on. Guys, we are going to have a giveaway tonight, both in-house. That's the great thing. If you're in my area, come out to Kirkland's. Hey, if you're not, there's hotels. I got a spare bedroom. Come on down. Hang out with us. Hang out with us, Kingsport, Tennessee in the house. Josh, man, come over to Big Stone. You're 45 minutes away. We do it from 8 to 9. Come over. We're going to have some great pros and some awesome Joes who is, he's the state champ, So that was your cue. You're supposed to hold. I'm the champ.
I'm the champ.
There you go. But I'm super proud of Josh. I know how hard Josh has worked over the years to get to that point. And you fish with your dad too, right?
Yeah. We do these kayak tournaments together a lot of the times. It's something good, and I'm glad that we can both share the experience on that.
Now I've met Mr. King. I call him Mr. King, and I don't want him to whoop me when he sees me. But it's got to feel pretty good whooping your dad constantly out there.
Hey, it's hard. It's hard out there. I mean, he's been spanking my butt here recently.
Yeah. So, you don't kind of give him a couple of jabs when you do better.
No, not at all.
No, I bet he does you though, right?
A little bit.
Okay. That's how it goes, right there. All right, I want to give a couple of shout outs to some of the people that's out in the online. Scott, Danny, Smoky Mountain Fishing, Hudson Logan, Dave. Hey, Dave, man, I appreciate everything you do for me. We got Mikey, the Container Guru, who, by the way, has an incredible YouTube channel himself. Very large YouTube channel. Owen, Nick, like I said, guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out with us. I appreciate you. If I don't get to say hi to every single one of you, guys, make sure you get those questions ready for the master. He is going on. He is the man. We'll talk about the giveaway a little bit later in the show. Again, Josh, tell us a little bit about kind of, who's Josh? Where did you come from? What got you into bass fishing? and what kind of led you down the kayak path?
So I am from Johnson City, Tennessee, and I fished a little bit with my dad from the bank and on a boat whenever I was little. He had, I think he was a Stratus and a Triton, if I'm not mistaken. Sold those and pursued it in motocross. And then I think whenever I was about 15 or so, I was starting to begin fishing off the bank with my cousins. I caught my first topwater fish, and then my dad was like, "Hey, I've stumbled across some things out towards Florida and such. It's kayak fishing. Yeah, is it something that you are interested in?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Let's do that. And, get me from one side of the water to the other side." And we joined a local club and started fishing a little bit. First off, I started off with a fill-free lure 11.5 kayak. I just paddled as much as I could. Like Hank said, I work out quite a bit, so I try to cover as much water as I can and try to use my fitness for that. And then,
which, by the way, go ahead and shout out your other, I don't know what to call it, business endeavor. Because you're a personal trainer, right?
Yeah.
So tell everybody where they can get personally trained.
So you can get personally trained at CrossFit Thunder Valley. So, and they are located in Johnson City, Tennessee as well. Kind of close to, I think it was Silverdale, I believe it is. Yeah.
You don't got to drop away points. I mean, until we get to the fishing part of it. Now, that's where I want them, especially on Kentucky Lake.
Yeah.
But yeah, Josh is a personal trainer. So, unlike me, I would have the trolling motor to motor my fat butt out there, as opposed to Josh, who's like, "Yeah, this ain't nothing, bro." So, Josh does like 2 miles one way in the wind, and he's like, "Yeah, nothing. I just did that."
No, I do not miss it. So right now I'm in a Hobie PA14, and it's a pedal-driven kayak, and I do not miss paddling.
Paddling.
Paddling in the wind. It definitely can make you tired at the end of the day. And now granted, you do have a little bit of extra help with pedaling, but at the same time, I mean, depending on how strong the winds are, it still kind of whoops your butt.
So tell us about the Hobie. I'm a bass boat guy. So tell us about the Hobie. I know you guys, there's so many different variations of kayak out there. What attracted you to that particular Hobie?
So let's backtrack a little bit. So I started in a fill-free lure 11.5 paddle kayak. It's super stable. They were a little slow on the water just because of how wide they were. But like I said, they're super stable. We upgraded into a fill-free Dorado 125, which was our first pedal-driven kayak. Again, those things were absolutely so stable on there. I could stand on the seat and everything. But again, they were a tank. I think going at full effort, I was getting up to like 3.5 miles an hour, and that's like
wow,
that's like full going. And
that'd mean I'd get like 1.5 miles paddling. I'd be like, I've gone 15 feet, I quit.
Yeah,
I'm out.
But the only bad thing about the kayak that I felt was it's not really tournament ready. You could go out there, and it was a luxury kayak where you do have a lot of room and everything, but I don't think it was ready for tournament kayaking. And me and Dad have been eyeballing some Hobies ever since the very first time. And sure enough, after I think 3 years in our Dorados, we just like, what, let's get some Hobies and do it right. And the reason why we looked into them just because of the space that you do have in the Hobies. They're pretty much a boat in a kayak form.
That's one of the things. Now, I'd like the ability, and so maybe you can actually answer this question for me. One of the biggest reasons why I would like a Hobie is because we've got some really shallow rivers around here. the Holston, the Powell in some places, and the clinch.
Mhm.
And so fishing those rivers is something that I'd really like to be able to do. And I love the fins. You know, it's not a propeller drive for you guys that don't know, and it's fins, and they actually will completely pull up against the boats. So they're great for really shallow water. Now, I don't know if you have that or you know.
So that's what I have to, and I've got the PA 14 360. So what that means is that I'm able to go right around into a 360 and maneuver the boat really easy, as if I did have a trolling motor. So as one of those things, whenever we were trying to make the call on our investment, that do we get a cheaper kayak and put a trolling motor on it, or do we just get what we want and be able to still maneuver the boat or the kayak in the way.
So. Now let me ask you a question. Can you have that sort of fin pedal drive and like is it interswappable with like a trolling motor?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So they do have some companies out there that where the fins go into our drive, they do have a motor that fits right in there. But majority of times, what people will do is have a motor guide or a what is it? What's on yours? Ultrex? No.
Yeah, but that's a
Minn Kota. Yeah, Minn Kota, and they'll bow mount it, and then sometimes they'll have a trolling motor in the very back as well, so that keeps the kayak on plane pretty much whenever you're going.
There you go. So to answer my buddy Josh, yes, he was at the 3B seminars. Hope he gets to do it again this year. Yeah. I mean, this trophy says he should. But let's see. I agree. Again, Josh, here, I agree with this. This is the kayak I would also need, the Fat Man Friendly kayak. Which those kayaks right there that you're running, I mean, they're pretty daggone stable.
They are. I think, don't quote me on this, I'm pretty sure they're really close to 13 foot long. They're right about 40 inches wide. Yeah, so they're super stable. I thought the Dorado was super wide until I got into a Hobie, and I felt like I didn't have, or felt like I had too much room in there, to be honest.
So Julie wants to know, do you have the 180 or the 360 drive?
360 drive.
Now, tell everybody that don't know what the difference between those are.
So I've never actually been in the 180, but from what I've seen and the research that I've seen, the 180 drive allows you to just go forward and backwards as far as reverse goes. I think how you do that is you'll pull, I think they have like a green cord to go forward, and you'll pull a red cord to go backwards. And then with the 360 drive, they have a turn knob, and that can turn the fins all the way around to where you can kind of kick in a 360 way as well.
Now we've got some more questions. Nick asks, and again, I don't fish from small boats, or I've got a small boat, and I've done a lot of 10 boat fishing, but you probably know better than me.
Okay. So question on this is from Nick. Question on gear for canoe fishing, to-go setups for most baits that won't kill the wallet, sub 250 combos. Let's see. I would say if you're a bait caster or spin cast or spinning gear, bait caster, I'd say a good Shimano lose.
Something like the SLX or the lose LFS.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Those both are $100, and you can get them on sale, especially coming up, here for Black Friday for probably sub $100. And then rods, there's a ton of really great rods out there. What's one of your favorite, say $100, $120 rods?
I say it's about $109. If you're local, you can go up to Bristol, Tennessee, or Bristol, Virginia for just fishing, and you can pick up some Lancer Pro arc rods. Those are
the arc rods.
Those
are
pretty good. and I know Alan up there at Just Fishing can set you up there
Yeah.
if you're there, if you're local.
And there's a ton like the I'll tell you a rod that I hooked Jeremy up with. What was the Arid X, Jeremy?
Yeah, it's the Arid X.
Yeah, the Arid X rods. I mean, they're like what did they retail, like less than $50?
I think it was a little more than that.
Was it? It's. I mean, there's super nice rods by Daiwa. You know, Luz has got some great rods out there. I tell people all the time, you know, Pissy Fun has got some great rods out there. Believe it or not. You know, oh gosh, what's the one right at $100 for them?
For the rod wise,
Yeah, it's the Serpent.
yes, Serpent.
The Serpent. It is. I mean, it reminds me so much of the. Oh gosh, I just went brain dead. Anyway, it's a great rod.
I think, in my opinion, I think the Serpent kind of reminds me of like the Mach 2 series.
The Mach 2. It reminds me a lot of the gosh, what's the one that the tactical bassing guys are using all the time? Oh my Lord. I cannot believe I don't remember this.
You got
Fury, Dobbins Fury.
Dobbins, yeah.
Yeah, it really reminds me of the Dobbins Fury at a better price. But again, and TFO, you can go check them out. They've got a couple the professional series around that 119, 130 ish. So some really good stuff, and you can get a plethora. This guy right here was showing me. Can I even talk about it? I didn't know if you were showing.
Yeah.
He was showing me a couple of reels, even from the Guggen squad, that looked incredible. Now I don't know what the price point are on those as far as spinning reels go.
Yeah, the spinning reel goes. You got the green series. It's coming at I think $59.99, and the gold series, which in my opinion for $129.99, it's pretty daggum. Feels good. It's just simple as that. It's one of those deals that you put in your hand. You're like, man, I don't know about it at first, but then you get to playing with it. Man, I think this thing feels pretty good.
So yeah, John, the Torpedo is another good one. I just feel like anytime I just like saying that word, Torpedo.
Yeah, Torpedo's good.
It just makes me want Mexican food for some reason. I don't even know if it's Mexican. I don't know. I probably shouldn't say that out loud, but you know. But I just did. So there it is.
There it is. It's out there already.
So Josh, tell us a little bit now. Tell us a little bit about how you got to the state championship. So what did you have to do through the season? What qualified you? What are you, was it a club? Was it a series? What was the deal?
So we are part of the Kayak Angler of Society of Tennessee, and I fish in a local group called the Tri-City Kayak Anglers. You can find us on Facebook. We pretty much focus on the Tri-City area in Tennessee. We fish all lakes, such as like Cherokee, Douglas, Watauga, South Holston, Boone, all of them. We also touch a little bit in the rivers as well. But we have every year we come up with probably, I'd say, 10 to 12 different events, and at least 6 of them will be points events. And whenever you fish there, you'll get your points. And the top, I believe it's the top 5. Yes, top 5 will be able to qualify for the state championship. And from there, if it fits your schedule, you can confirm your registration and all that stuff. And every year it's a different lake, a different club hosts the event. And so far, like for me this past year, I was lucky enough to be pretty consistent and win Angler of the Year for Tri-Cities. And that kind of led into.
You didn't bring that trophy?
I didn't.
We could have just had the hardware lined up.
Thing. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. Got there. Speaking a little bit as far as Lake Kentucky, we had a lot of water to cover. They opened up, I think, the Duck River that kind of flows in there, Kentucky Lake, Cumberland River, little ways, and then Lake Barkley. And from the map study and everything that I looked at, as far as YouTube videos and stuff goes, I knew going into the tournament I wanted to fish shallow, and for the most part, Lake Barkley had a lot of shallow stuff. I didn't realize how low the water was going to be. I know they said it was down like 2 or 4 foot, but I mean 2 to 4 foot to Lake Barkley, I mean that's a lot. I beached myself a couple of times in my kayak.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just super light. You'd be in like 10 foot of water going through, and
it should be much easier for me than you.
Yeah, 10 foot of water going across, and all of a sudden, bam, you hit a sandbar or something like that. But
so did you get any practice in?
So typically for the cast, they allow the day before the 2-day event starts from like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to fish as much water or cover as much water to find your spots. And nothing beforehand, at least for a week beforehand. And
wow.
Yeah, so they cut it off pretty much.
Wow. So you don't get to fish for a whole week before the event?
Yeah. Whole week.
Does practice even matter at that point?
So pretty much
that's wild.
Yeah, so pretty much cut it out, the day before, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You go check out a couple of spots here and there. I chose our first spot with me and my dad. We went there, we saw a ton of bait fish. So we were like, oh man, maybe this is like the honey hole.
Mm-hmm.
But fishing there for about 3 hours, kind of marking some things. We were only able to catch one fish and really wasn't confident in that area.
Yeah.
We loaded back up, went to another spot, and put in. The wind started picking up to about 25 miles an hour.
Shoo.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Especially on that lake.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I didn't really pay attention to the wind that too much. But I started fishing, just kind of beating the banks, whatever, and I stumbled across I guess you would call it a pinch point.
Mm-hmm.
Only one way in, one way out, pretty much from on the bridge. That bridge had a lot of riprap and a couple of drop-offs in there.
There you go.
Noticed a bunch of bait fish kind of popping up like popcorns, and sure enough, I threw a lipless crank in there and caught a hybrid or a white bass. I guess they don't have hybrids up there. I think all white bass, but caught a couple of those, and then ended up catching my first keeper. It was like 12 inches, and was like, you know what, I'm gonna come back later. I know I could probably catch a small limit there anyways. And so on day one of the tournament, we went back there, and sure enough, some big ones started biting. I caught my first one on a spook, a one knocker, but that was the only thing that I could get on a spook. And then sure enough, the wind picked up again, same directions, kind of blowing right into this riprap area. And I think the bank that I was fishing was kind of like a transition area as well. So, you had that pinch point, the current's kind of coming through. You had that riprap on the side, and the wind pushing all that bait fish down into that little pocket. So I think it just corralled it in there. So
wind blown banks and pockets, main lake. Now that was a main lake pocket too, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So now that was the first day of the tournament.
Yes.
Or just practice?
First day.
Did you find that spot in practice?
Yeah, I did. And like I said, I just mainly caught white bass and a few small largemouth. But I knew in this spot I could catch a small limit and at least, salvage the day if I needed to.
So after day one, so tell us what were the most important baits on day one, and what was your limit after day one?
So I got a quick limit of like 75 inches of so let's step back for our limit. So we go by our 5 biggest fish over the 2 days, going by length only. They had to be at least 12 inches or bigger to count. And I had about 75 inches, and I caught one on a spook. I caught one on a jerkbait, and then I started catching them on the lipless crankbait. And I started playing around with different colors because they only have like a small window whenever they would feed. And I got so dialed in to just fishing the spot repeatedly. Like I was throwing a white I believe it was a 200 series Bandit. They wouldn't touch it. They would follow it, but they would touch it, or they wouldn't touch it. And I switched to a DT6 that had a black dot on it, and started catching them. And then I went back to a jerkbait, and I caught one of those, I guess the thread fin.
Yeah, little shad,
and it had a black dot.
It had the black dot.
And then I started just kind of racing with that information, and sure enough, here they are, left and right. I could almost call my shots. It was crazy. So by the end of day one, I had 87.25 inch.
87.25. So what did you think it was going to take? You were going to have both days to be able to walk away with that trophy.
Well, truthfully, I didn't ever expect to walk away with this trophy. I knew.
You ain't got to lie to us.
I'm not. So truthfully, with the caliber of anglers that we have in cast, I really thought 88 plus is kind of where you needed to be, at least to cash a check. And I think they had, for whatever reason, they had day one, the leaderboard turned off, so you couldn't see where you were at.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, at the time, whenever I checked and didn't see anything, I was like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to just fish. And, I got a couple text messages whenever they opened it up that night on the leaderboard. They're like, hey, man, slow down. How you catching them? What are you doing? I was like, what are you talking about?
Everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
Shoot me those GPS coordinates.
I was like, what are you talking about?
So what did you have? What was the distance? Were you leading after day one?
Yeah, so I was leading after day one. I had a 7.5 inch lead.
Okay. No. Again, I'm a pound guy, bass boat guy. Good. Is that good? Bad? What is that normally?
So I would say that's pretty good, but like again, with the caliber of anglers that we have,
fishing, and on Kentucky Lake, they can make that up real quick,
really quick. And so yeah, I checked our scoring app, is the Tourney X, and I saw that I was in first. I was like, oh man! And then of course, Dad and my buddy Brandon, who were fishing with us, they're all giving me crap as far as jitters and all stuff, because it seemed like I was binge eating at night with my nerves. But on day two, I told myself to just go out there and just fish. Try to not worry about the stress of everything. And when we got there, caught one on top water.
All right. Wait. Before we get into day two, two, 2-day tournament, correct?
Yep,
2-day tournament. Okay. First off, I want to do something, guys. So we're going to do a giveaway tonight, of course, and I'm going to show you some stuff that we're going to give away. All right. So we have got some Hayabusa hooks. We've got a Vision 110 Junior. We don't have a Vision 110 Junior. We've got a Demiki. I never can remember the name. Rambler. Yes, Ramble 120. Which, by the way, this is a very good and great color topwater.
Got a Bitsy jig, 4th ounce, and black. It's a good color.
Yeah. Then, of course, we've got some Yum. I always forget what they call these.
Breaking Shad.
Pearl White.
Oh, we got a War Eagle Extreme Series right here. What is that color?
I don't know what they color is.
Mouse?
Is it mouse? Yeah, it says mouse. So it's mouse.
It's a mouse.
I would call it a bluegill, but a mouse will work too.
Yep. Pretty cool stuff.
So, pretty good little box. We will give that away at the end. You do have to be here to win, not like here at Kirkland's. By the way, shout out to Kirkland's Restaurant, Big Stone Gap, Virginia. I'm telling you, come out, guys. We are going to have some really good pros. I think we're going to get a couple of the MPFL pros, and the all-time winner in MPFL who just won the last event. We're going to get them out here over the course of the next few weeks. So you're going to get some good information. And then we might even, for you local guys, we might even be able to snag the guys that won the Morristown Marine Team Trail. I'd like to get them in-house, but if we can't get them in-house, we'll definitely get them up here. These guys are guys that fish locally to us, but they also have a ton of other knowledge. Now, Sabre Outdoors. This weekend, it's going to be freezing cold in southeastern Kentucky. What lures would you throw when a cold front moves in the fall? I just kind of added that last part. In the
fall, I'd go A-rig. If you can throw an A-rig, I'd throw A-rig. I'd probably at Kentucky, depending on what lake you're fishing, but I'd probably stick with a 2.8 or 3.3 inch swim bait.
Yeah.
Though I think you can't go wrong with those.
No.
Bait would be
a jerk bait would be great. I'm going to throw that sort of tight line Demiki sort of combo, either with my Yum sonar shad or my Demiki armor shad. That's going to be a big one.
If you can find some schooling fish, even though they may be lethargic, I throw an underspin as well.
Yeah, an underspin, which you guys know I love. But also, if they're schooling, don't be afraid to throw that Rico popper. I think I made a believer out of somebody sitting here with me one day. You can go back and check that video out. That was a pretty fun video. We didn't catch no giants, but we had a good time. Top water is always a good time. So that's kind of where I'm at. So now let's answer a few questions. So Joe says, then does the new season for TCKA start this year? Now, this is a question absolutely geared toward you. I'm guessing.
Yeah. We just had our classic, but our season doesn't start until next year. If you are a part of our Facebook group, we should have a post that's pinned. I think it's pinned. If not, I'll do it after this, and it should post of next year's mock schedule for it.
All right. So Julie asked, and I hope I'm not butchering that name. I apologize. What is your favorite or suggested graph/fish finder for a kayak?
So the kayak or the graphs that I'm running on my Hobie are a Garmin 106 and a Garmin 93 SV on there. I'm running both of those ones for live scope, and the other one more or less is for mapping and your traditional down view and side view. But if I had to do a go-to, the 93 SV is a great unit to have on your kayak. I mean, you can even say it too.
Yeah,
the down imaging and side imaging is pretty good stuff.
I'll just sing it. I'm in love with the Garmin. I'm not going to lie to you. Like my Garmin, and I know people love and hate the forward-facing sonar, but if you're going to compete in tournaments now, and me and I do another podcast called, and shout out to my buddy Brian, the Basscast Radio. But we've had this discussion because he runs a kayak fishing, and you're going to get guys who are going to come out with a cheap, I keep wanting to say paddle kayak, and they're going to win. But wouldn't you say that's more the exception than the rule now? That realistically, that the pedals are better, that the trolling motors are better, that there's a little bit of an advantage to that, and that's kind of the same way I feel with especially the Plus. Like I've got a 1022, I think, Garmin, and it's the Plus, and I'll tell you, when you can see a topwater walking bait at 120 feet on the surface and bass reacting to it, it's got to change the way things work. I mean,
for sure.
It just is.
So with that, I mean, if you do have all the bells and whistles on your kayak and stuff, that does give you kind of a little bit of an upper hand, but at the same time, you've got to put in the work and be able to catch those fish. So, if you didn't have it or you had the basic stuff, I mean, if you go out there and you catch your 5 big fish, you don't have to have the bells and whistles. I caught my baby earlier this year.
Yeah, I wanted to say congratulations,
Yeah, congrats,
Travis.
man.
Way to go. Low brow. Hey, low brow. I've got a surprise for you later. Well, a surprise for a lot of you guys, but I've got to get the samples in first. All right, let's see. We got Jesse, who fishes high school tournaments.
What's up, Jesse?
And we have a tournament on Cherokee. Oh, he's wanting inside information.
Oh, inside. Hey, it's tough. I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's definitely tough right now.
I was out there and I skunked. And I use live scope as much as I can and find some fish. It seemed like they were on a pretty early morning bite. I think it's due to the full moon. So if you can get out there early and just cover water.
Yeah. And then the next big thing when you're fishing down there, and me and him's talked about this a lot, and he mentioned it earlier. When it's tough like that, get out that jig. You're fishing for 5 bites. Get out that 3.3 or that if you need to cover water, that 2.8, and just slow roll it. You're going to get bites. Yes, it is tough. Is it beer? It's not beer. I can't mail that to you, lowbrow. All right, so let's jump back in. Tell us about day 2. So day 2, the conditions changed a little bit on you.
Yeah. So,
which kind of affected that spot where you put the mother load together.
Yeah. So typically in the 2-day tournament, I try to not wear out my spot as much as I can. I typically get my 5 or whatever and get out. And I told myself just wear it out because you're just looking for 5. And I had a pretty big lead at the time too. So I knew going into day 2, I was just trying to look for 2 upgrades. I think my smallest 2 fish were a 16-inch and a 16.25. And I ended up culling both of those on day 2, but not until later in the day. So we got there. The wind changed from being a southwest wind to a southeast wind. It was basically just blowing the other direction. And the bite was really, really slow. They weren't busting shad like they were. And I fished there for about 2-3 hours. And I was like, you know what? I need to go find some bigger fish. And so I took off to the main channel. I fished a riprap bank, nothing. Fished a big bluff that had some deeper water. So I was hoping maybe I could find some smallmouth throwing like a Ned rig or something like that. And fished that for about 3 hours and nothing. And then I noticed the wind started blowing back into the pocket, and I hauled butt to that point and or at that pocket, and sure enough, they were biting again, and everything kind of just went to work. A couple of baits that I used.
Yeah, show those baits.
Yeah, a couple of baits I used was a DT6. I think this is Disco Shad, but I'm not 100% on that.
Disco Shad. They make originally they made I think it's like an olive shad that looked like that too.
Okay.
But if that's an Ike color, it's a Disco Shad. I think it's a little brighter green. So yeah, you're probably right.
Disco Shad. That's something that I caught several fish behind boaters. That was a scene.
Yeah, go tell them about that.
Yeah,
he did not have this spot to himself.
No, not on day 2. Day 2, I came up and I was fishing a spot. Like, I saw a boat come in on the left side, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna share with him and go to the right. And sure enough, we kind of collided. I caught 2 fish, and then they started just casting right over top of me. And I didn't say anything because at the time they weren't catching anything, and I was catching stuff. So I was like, you know what, whatever. And then I started throwing this 2-tap Strike King. Again, notice the dot on there. I think that really triggered those fish. I think they were so precise on what they were eating. They were looking for that. Another bait that I used was a Guggen Squad Scout. It's just a jerk bait here. Again,
notice the dot.
The dot. So I really think that dot had something to do with it, and it could have been, it could have not been. I don't know.
Well, me and you've talked about it before. In the fall, sometimes you can get on them and they'll eat anything in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
Other times you can get on them, and I mean they are zeroed in on that prey. And when they get zeroed in on that prey, you better mimic it, to the dot.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly.
You're right. And it's one of those deals too, because I upgraded my fish and I kept catching these 14-inch fish, and I was like, hey Dad, come over here, fish this spot. Here he threw this with me. I don't know if it was down to the way I was retrieving it or what. I told him just to slow reel it. But I think the only thing that was different in what we were doing is our size of line. I had 14, or I had 16, and he had 14. So assuming 14 would get it just a tad deeper.
Yeah.
And they weren't looking for
that.
So
they were looking up, not down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were pushing the shad against the bank at that certain level, and he was just coming in under them.
Yep.
All right, so Saber Outdoors asked, I asked this question during BassGeek's last live with the pro. Would you rather fish a weigh every fish or a tournament best 3, best 5, or do you even care?
I think there's a place for each one.
I agree with that.
A best 3, I struggle with that personally for myself. But whenever I first got into tournament fishing, I could go and catch 3 big ones, and that was all I catch. I couldn't catch 5. I couldn't catch a limit, and so I've had to adjust on how I fish and target things to at least get a limit to kind of get me in a good position and then upgrade from there. But yeah, overall.
So tell us a little bit about that adjustment. What do you think it was you were doing before, and what adjustment did you actually make to be able to pull that limit? Because I'm real bad about not putting limits in the boat, but I'm out there. It seems like I'm always power fishing and trying to catch literally five bites, 5 big bass.
Yeah, I mean,
and so like on a team, if you need the kicker, I'm your guy because generally I'll get it.
Yeah,
but that'll be the one fish I catch all day.
Yeah. So that was me. I used to go out there, and for the most part, I would win a lot of big fish in the tournaments. And the biggest thing that I noticed is I paid attention to who was always in the top 5 in our events or in the top 10. And they always had limits. I was like, why can I not catch limits? And I'm fishing kind of the same things that they are.
Yeah.
What am I doing wrong in those scenarios? And I think it came down to the size of bait whenever I was going to. Like I was using a big, I guess a 4-inch bandito bug is one of my favorite flipping baits, and that's what I did. I flipped everything, and I would go and get bites, but I would always miss them. They would always pull my hinges off or something like that. And I think they were just a little bit smaller where they couldn't necessarily bite the whole thing until that one big fish can bite it. And what I did is ended up downsizing a little bit to, they have a 3.3 inch, and that's kind of like my go-to now. And I'll go through there and flip everything first, get 5 really quick, and then start to try and upgrade from there. But I know in the tournament series wise, you've got to have 5 big fish. You can't just get 5 keepers, right?
But I mean, a lot of times, and I know I tell this story all the time. The first time I really met Brandon Card and I talked to him, and he was a power angler, and I met oh my gosh, his name goes out of my head every time I tell this story. But anyway, me and Brandon spoke, and he talked about having to pick up the spinning reel more. And I know me and you went out and practiced for a tournament. You had a kayak tournament same weekend that I had the Morristown Marine Championship, and he started lighting me up because he's fishing that smaller bandito bug. And, a couple of things that I even noticed about the bandito bug, because I'm a big fan of the rage bug, is that the bandito bug probably has less action, especially a small version. And it's a much subtler bait. And we went down one bank, and I had to tell him, look, stop, dude, you need to catch these fish tomorrow. and he's just having fun. And I'm like, no.
But yeah,
We gotta quit it.
That's another thing. Like pre-fishing, man, I get so caught up in the just fishing, and you know, I love fishing. So like catching fish, it's always fun.
So,
Plastics, yeah, I fish plastics all the time. Now, this year is the first year that I've not picked up a plastic as much as I do often. Like
so you're fishing more hard baits?
yeah.
This year?
So I went out and fished with a buddy of mine, David Mullins. I don't know if you all know him or not.
Bassmaster Elite Pro.
But,
Name drop.
But he told me, "Hey man, you ever fish a crankbait much?" I was like, "No, I like to just flip. Oh, so the 10C flip is kind of what you're doing." And he's like, "Well, I would learn cranking," and that's sure enough. That's pretty much all I've done this year, and it's definitely something that's helped.
Well, it's you're able to cover water even on a kayak, you know, and that's one thing, you know, he was talking about how many boats were around him, and he was going behind boats. Listen, guys, I've made it a rule that if I see a kayaker in a holler or whatever you want to call it, getting to let my hillbilly out here, I don't go in there because I know those guys can't go very far, and they picked apart every stinking ounce of bank in there. So, you know, generally I'm not catching them on a bass boat. I'm coming in too fast, too hot. I'm going, and then they're catching them and making me look bad. They don't need my audience, so I'm leaving. I'm going somewhere where I don't see a kayaker. But, you know, I mean, it's the same thing. And I know it, you know, from growing up fishing small lakes, you know, like I said, out of my 10 boats, you know, it's the same thing. You're picking apart every single little thing out there. And that's sort of, you know, it's roots fishing really is what it comes down to.
And, you know, speaking of like covering water, like there was a Tennessee Bass Nation event on Chickamauga. It's a 2-day event as well in June. And over a 4-day period of 2 practice days plus 2 tournament days, I covered in 41 hours in my kayak. I covered 42.5 miles in that, just straight up fishing, just trying to cover as much water as I can.
Whew, again, he's in way better shape. Way better shape. I'm not going to make him take his shirt off right now to prove it to you. But
what a clown.
But way again, he's a personal trainer, guys, you know, first off. So, you know, I'm not doing like, how many miles did you say? It's went out of my mind. It's just unbelievable.
42.5.
Okay,
I feel like that's a lot. I don't know.
That's a lot to me.
I know some people
like if I cover a mile, I'm probably throwing water on my face. I'm waving down bass boats to tow me in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take the wheel.
By the way, guys, we do have a great audience. I want to thank a lot of my families come out. We've got some guys that come out. They're my regulars. I want to say thanks to them.
Thank you all.
We appreciate you guys coming out and being with us here at Kirkland's. Like I said, you guys need to come out. We have a good time, and we get to sit around and eat, drink, and talk fishing. I mean, I don't know what else you could ask for. Let's see. We got Dave Washburn, one of my normal subscribers. Hank and Josh, what's one of the fish that got away that still haunts you today? I can tell you right now. I'll tell you right now, it involves my daughter. Thank God she's not here.
So go ahead and say.
So you think about it.
I'll think about mine.
So yeah. So I was just really learning how to fish, you know, soft plastic swim baits. You know, I'd been throwing them on a lake, local top secret Lake P, for all you guys that know Pound Lake. I'm going to let that one out. Nobody go to that and fish my spots. But
it's not easy to find.
Yeah, it's not easy to find. But, you know, we're up there and, you know, I've fished that lake, you know, since I was a kid. But, you know, the swim bait thing was a little bit new to me. So I'm fishing Shadalicious. It's a ghost shad. And I'm learning that you do not set the hook, even though it's a single hook bait, up and then try and reel. So me and my daughter are out there, and I keep losing fish, and I don't understand what I'm doing. You know, I've never had anybody show me. And so my daughter's with me, and we're catching some good fish. And I set the hook on one, and I mean, it was way out there. I don't even think the bait dropped 2 foot. It just nailed it. And I'll never forget this fish come up because I'm an idiot. I didn't side set. Always side set swim baits. Okay. So I hook straight up. You know, I'm a jig angler. That's my background. That's where I come from. So, you know, I want to crack them. And so on that swim bait, I set it. And what it does is the bass wants to go with the pressure. And here this bass comes up. And I mean, his mouth was that big. And I could see the swim bait literally so far back that none of it was sticking out. That's how big this fish's mouth was. And his eyes, it was between his eyes. He was pinned. And he comes up. And I know a lot of you guys can relate. And I just see him go, woo, woo. And I see that because you're fishing a heavy weight. You got a lot of plastic. It just twists this way while he's twisting that way and twists that way. And that bait just torqued right out of his mouth. He was like slow motion. I wanted to cry. I seen the bait come flying back at me and just hit right in front of the boat. And my daughter's comment was, Dad, that was the biggest mouth on a fish I've ever seen. I went, yeah, me too, honey. Me too. So there it is. Yeah, at least you can verify. Yeah. But, you know, I always tell everybody, I've never lost a fish under 12 pounds. And they're like, how? They're like, what? I'm like, prove me wrong. I'm like, that was a 12-pounder. I just lost it. Swear to you. I've never landed one 12 pounds either, but, you know, I've never lost one under 12 pounds.
Mine goes probably this spring. It was first year in my Hobie, first time using live scope and all stuff. So it was really fun to watch a fish come up and murder a jerkbait.
Oh, yeah.
It was on Cherokee, and I threw him behind a rock, kind of twitch, watched it on the screen, twitch, and all of a sudden he just came up, grabbed it, and I set the hook, fought with him. He got him to the boat. Now, if you saw my net, you should ask me, how in the world can you have such a hard time with the net that you have and not get this fish in?
That's why I don't net them anymore. Every video on boat hopping, everything.
Yeah.
I don't trust the net.
I know.
Except with a Demiki rig.
So I was playing this fish out there, and, you know, people say, don't play your fish, all that stuff. So I was playing it. I was like, oh, man, this is a big fish. Go to grab my net. The net is stuck in the water, so it weighs heavy. And I'm trying to lift it and play with the fish, and then he makes one last surge, and I thought he just spit it. But when I checked the hooks on my jerkbait, they bent out. And I was talking to the BassGeek about this, Hank.
Oh, yeah.
I was talking to him about this, and he's like, you know what? That means your drag's too tight. And I was like, yeah.
Or your rod's too stiff, or you're just horsing. Yeah. How many times have I told Jeremy, how many times have I said, let up? Yeah. You know, I always argue with people. People want to give me heck. They're like, change those hooks out. And I agree. Now, some of them are garbage. I'll give you 100% on that. Yeah. But if you know you got good hooks, it's an equipment or it's a you problem. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a you problem.
My problem. Yeah, I've never been so quick to pick up that net and just try and catch it, but it didn't happen. But I'd say it was at least a 5-pounder, at least.
I don't even want to think about what size that bass was.
At least 12.
I guarantee it would have been my personal best, but I don't even want to think about it. All right, guys, listen, we are going to get to it here. It is 9:00. We're going to start wrapping things up. So if you got a couple of questions, go ahead and get us a couple of questions. You guys got anything y'all want to ask out there? Go Vols. So we're going to go ahead and do the giveaway here in just a second. Josh has been nice enough to come actually over to Kirkland's. I appreciate that. He's about an hour, right at an hour. Yeah, right at an hour back over to where he lives at. So I appreciate him coming out. He's our first actual in-house live guest, and that's just cool, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. But I'm glad you can have me out here.
Well, and you know, me and you've talked about it. Like I said, Josh, for you all that don't know, that haven't watched a long time, Josh has come over a couple times and fished Top Secret Lake P. I know I just let the cat out of the bag, but you know, he's fished it a couple times with me. And, you know, Did we fish? We fished South Holston once too, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
And
you and your
I didn't catch
cousins.
anything.
No, none of us caught anything. It was warm that day, and we were Demiki rigging.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, was it December or January?
January.
It was one of those 60-day, late December, early January, and every single boat had 3 guys in it, and they were all dinkalinking that Demiki around. Every single, am I lying? Every point you come to. So, it was crazy. All right, let's see.
What lake would you like to fish that you've never been to before? For me, it's Clear Lake and Lake Fork. Lake Fork. I would love to go to Lake Fork. I would also like to go to Okeechobee.
Yeah, Okeechobee, Harris Chain, Clear Lake, and Lake Fork are absolutely 2 of the top.
Sure.
2 of the top. Let's see. Owen Hartfield. I don't know. I'll let the city boy pronounce that name. I probably butchered it. What would be your number one must have in your tackle box that most don't think about? Ooh.
Most don't think about. That's a good question.
Must have that most don't think about.
Good question.
What was it?
Plug knockers.
Plug knockers. Yes.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yes, plug knockers. Jeremy says, I would probably say this right here. And that is the Duo Realis spy bait. I'm telling you, that little bait right there has caught me a lot of bass and a lot of largemouth too. It's not just a smallmouth killer.
For me, I mean, things have changed over the last year. There for a little bit, the Tokyo rig was something that not many people had confidence in. But now that seems like what everyone's throwing, even out deep.
Yep. And by the way, I want to say hey to Debo Fishing, who's in there.
What up, Debo?
I want to say hey to the traveling fishermen too. So, all right, guys. Wait. Mep's inline spinner. That's a good one. I'm going to keep that. I started to say something, but I ain't telling y'all that one yet. I ain't telling y'all. 3 more questions?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what. Let's do this. So let me try to remember how to do this because I always forget. Settings. Where is it? Present. Is it share screen? You think I would know this? How often have I done this? All right. Here's the giveaway tool. Okay. So hopefully this is up. You guys let me know if you can see it. Let's see. Okay, good. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a hashtag. So what do you want to hashtag? You type it in. They have to enter this to win the giveaway.
Okay.
Just whatever you want to put in there.
Let's go.
Make it pretty simple. Don't go crazy. Like not. Oh, God. I can't believe you did that. All right. Here we go. BGK. BGK, guys, hashtag BGK. You'll be entered to win. Here, let's go over. Shoot us some more questions in between entering. So just enter hashtag BGK into the comment section, and we will pick a winner here in just a second. Again, you got the Yum Jerk Baits, Mega Bass, 110 Junior. That has been a killer for me. What color is that? French?
Wrong.
Nope.
GP stain reaction.
GP stain reaction. Got a Bitsy Bug jig in black. A great bait right here, a topwater that I don't talk a whole lot about, and that's from Demiki. That is the Rambler. Hayabusa hooks.
Ooh.
And yes, that's a killer bait. And the War Eagle spinner bait, dual blade. I love a dual blade this time of year. So, all right, let's see. Now, let's see if we get any. We're already up to 40 entries. Way to go. There's 55 people in here right now. So 40 entries. That's pretty dang good. More excited about the BassGeek giveaway than the Powerball. I don't know. Listen, I would have taken $1 billion.
Yeah, for sure.
But I would have also taken $1 billion, and I would absolutely be fishing and doing BassGeek for a living then. So I'd probably just hired everybody in this room to let them help me. Favorite Ned rig bait?
So I've got.
This is beyond easy for me. But go ahead.
I've got three. I've got three that
Come on, you got to narrow it down to one.
Man,
one, your favorite, not your top three.
All right, I'll go with the 10,000 fish Satoshi.
I hate you right now. That was my number one.
Sucker.
Yeah, man, the Satoshi bug. I don't know how to say it exactly. But yeah, that is a great little bait. I swear, have you used it to actually sight fish and bed fish with?
No.
Oh my gosh. The green and orange, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you can take it, and what I love about it is you can throw it in there, and they'll see it, and it looks like a crawl without the claws, right? Mm-hmm. But you can sit there and literally just kind of hit them with it. And the more you just hit them and run across their back, gosh almighty, the madder they get.
Yep.
The madder they get. Oh, wait, wrong button.
What'd you click?
There we go. Travis Law. What topwater baits are working for you right now?
For me, spook, one knocker. That's all I'm throwing. I've been on a clear lake, catching them in 50 foot of water on top water, throwing that spook, and then went to Cherokee, threw it on spook.
Yep.
Caught them.
Guys, that's something, if you have not seen my short on the nose of walking baits, you really need to go look that up. Because the nose of a walking bait really means a lot on if you're in clear water or if you're in dirty water or if you have, a little bit of a chop on the water. And so those walking baits, that head and spook, the way it's made, that real smooth nose, you get in that clear water, you can call them up from so deep because you get such a smooth glide. Now I use, and believe it or not, the Demiki is not quite as bad as like the Sexy Dog. It's got a little smoother nose, but still, this is a tighter wiggle. You're not going to get a real, wide glide out of it. It's going to be a little faster bait to work, a little tighter bait to work. That knows, it knows. And you really got to pay attention. Like he said, on that clear water, I mean, that head and one knocker, not a lot of sound. You want to keep sound to a minimum when you're on clear water. And that one knocker, it's just when it moves, it just has that great click, 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 and it'll call them up. And, the Boyo, the Junior, it's great. The Traveling Fisherman, favorite? That's pretty funny. We were talking about this on the way over.
Yeah.
Favorite jackhammer trailer, or we'll just even expand that to chatterbait style, bladed jig style baits.
For me, I prefer the Zaco trailer. I've been experimenting with a Guggen Baits drag and drop. It's basically just a little worm, little 4-inch finesse worm, pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
And that thing has a lot of action in behind there. And if I'm fishing super shallow, I'm throwing on like a nuke punch from Guggen Baits on there, so I can skip it underneath docks or anything like that and keep it higher in the water column.
For me, it's really the same. Me and him are exactly the same. The Zocco, yeah, that, and just some sort of worm. Really, I mean, you can even go with a zoom and just dip the tail, put a little color on it because it's so crazy. And I learned that actually from Tackle Junkie. So big shout out to Tackle Junkie. He was the one that kind of turned me on to that.
Saber, I am going to the East Tennessee Fishing Expo. I just saw that.
Oh, yeah. We should both be there. I think it's already in stone for me that I'm working with the Camus guys down there.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah. I seen somebody. Where did it go? All right, guys. Look, we got 49 entries. Give us one more and we'll draw. So 50 entries and we will draw, and then we will call it a night. We'll let these guys go. Gosh, where did it go? I know I just seen it. Somebody was asking. Here it is. Bassing with Big Malone, buzzbait or whopper plopper. I'm a situational guy, and I'll explain that in a minute. You go ahead.
So if I have chop, I'm going buzzbait.
Oh, see, I'm different.
They're off.
Totally different.
Well, here's the thing. I don't just straight retrieve my whopper plopper. I plop it.
Okay.
I treat it like a popper for the most part.
So for me, I'm the exact opposite. Like I like a buzzbait in as calm as waters as I can get. Once we start getting over, 3-4 inch chop, probably even less than. Probably that. Once we start getting into that, I like a plopper better because I love the way when that comes up, it'll nosedive through those little waves and ripples, and you don't because a buzzbait for me, when you have chop, it's got a real bad tendency of once it goes under, you have to change that retrieve. You have to get it back up on the water, and so for me, a whopper plopper in high seas. I just keep thinking about the Corona, high seas going with Snoop Dogg and Andy. But anyway, we got 53. All right.
Heck yeah, let's go.
Let's go do the drawing. All right, who's going to win?
Boom.
Mike Roden. Way to go, Mr. Mike. All right, listen, Mike, I'm going to tell you, shoot me. Jeremy, if you don't mind, put my email in there, brother. I got Jeremy over here helping me tonight, man. He is a godsend. Shoot me an email. Jeremy will put it in the comment section. If not, it's always in the description of all my videos. It's bassgeek.biteme@gmail.com. We'll go ahead and get verified. I'll get your information, man, and I'll get those sent out to you here sometime this week. But I appreciate you coming in.
Bite me.
Yeah, because I'm always going, come on, bite me. It don't happen a lot. All right, we got a few more questions right here. Julie Hank, you be at the Fort Worth Fishing Expo. Not right now. I would love to actually come down there. So anybody want to bring me down there? Sure. But they got to pay for my hotel room and a flight, man. That's a long way. Yeah. And then Dave, square bill or lipless?
Lipless for me.
I'd have to go lipless if I had to pick one. Again, very situational baits. So, all right, guys, we're going to get him out of here. Again, I appreciate it. I couldn't be happier that my first, I'm just going to start calling these things double lives. Because we're live in front of an audience and we're live on YouTube. I couldn't be happier that it's Josh, because like I said, me and Josh have been friends. Nope, wrong one. I keep pushing the wrong buttons. There we go. You'd think I'd know how to do this by now. But man, I appreciate it. It's awesome to actually have you in house, have you here, and get to talk to you and hang out with you.
I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm glad that we could get this together.
Yeah, and it, like I said, I'm so happy to see him be able to hoist that trophy, man. That is cool. I know how hard he's worked for it, and it's cool, man. It's cool to get to see that. So, time on the water, get out there, put your work in. Guys, as always, I appreciate you tuning in. Get out to Kirkland's, Big Stone Gap, Virginia. Get out here, hang out with me. Donnie, where are you at, man? Come on, get out here. Just come on out, man. Let's sit around and we'll talk about fishing. You guys can win some great baits. We got some great baits over here. As a matter of fact, this is one we're going to give away. So we're going to give away a bunch of baits in-house too. $50 prize pack in-house and $50 prize pack online. So you guys get out here and hang out. And it's always fun after because we'll get to sit around and talk about some fishing even more. But as always, guys, I appreciate you. Oh, and I will say this, because we're doing this in the banquet room at Kirkland's, we have had to kind of finagle. So it won't necessarily always be on Monday right now. Now we're still kind of in our test phase, trying to see if we're going to get people to come out because I don't want to hold them up from making money. So the more people come, the more we can do this regularly. So get out here. But I will make sure that I post dates a week ahead of time. So keep a lookout on Instagram, on YouTube, basically everywhere I'm at. So you want to say hey to anybody, any sponsors or anything?
Yeah, I want to thank Angler Tungsten, Monster Marine, Lithium Batteries, Arc Rods, Dugan Squad, Dugan Baits, Catchco, and pretty much my whole family, my dad, my mom, my wife. They've always been behind me and everything out there. They made a lot of sacrifices, so I appreciate them all.
Doug, this is a great question. Do you like biscuits and gravy?
Yep.
All right. Tackle junkie, eat some daggone biscuits and gravy. All right, guys. I love you. I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you've done for me, everything you've allowed me to do. This has been an incredible trip, and it's all due to you. As always, love you, and you guys rock.
See you guys.